Sao Paulo is one of the world's most populous cities, Brazil's financial capital and a magnet for migrants from across Latin America. But as journalist Ana Aranha has been finding out, it's also home to thousands of clandestine sweatshops, in which exploited workers toil to produce garments for the country's clothing industry.
Sao Paulo, the fashion capital of Latin America. Glitz, glamour, and a massive consumer market. But behind this lies something far less glamorous. 5 years ago, degrading sweatshop conditions were found in the supply chains of several high street stores. Now, Brazilian reporter Ana Aranha sets out to investigate whether this remains embedded in the industry. She teams up with a Bolivian undercover journalist to shed light on an invisible migrant community trapped inside a network of clandestine sweatshops. In the outskirts of Sao Paulo, Ana Aranha joins a special task force from Brazil's Labour Ministry as they follow a tip-off in an area where clandestine sweatshops are known to operate.
It seems that the same owner maintains 2 or 3 sweatshops in the same street. So now the team has been divided and we are going to the second sweatshop to see how the conditions are.
Bom dia, senhor. Ministério do Trabalho, Fiscalização.
The man opening the door is the sweatshop's manager. His operation is likely to be a part of a wider network catering to Brazilian brands. The inspector leading the raid is Renato Bignami.
Como é que é o nome da senhora?
Sí.
Su nombre?
Delia.
Delia.
Sí.
Delia. ¿Es la dueña del taller?
No.
¿Es trabajadora? Trabajadora.
Sí.
¿De qué parte eres?
Recién he llegado de Bolivia.
Perdón?
Recién he llegado de Bolivia.
Recién llegada de Bolivia. ¿Recién cuándo? ¿Cuándo ha llegado?
Hace 3 semanas.
Hace 3 semanas.
Sí, llegamos.
¿Es su mujer?
Es mi esposa.
Christian and Delia are among an estimated 300,000 Bolivians who have come to Sao Paulo. Around 90% work in the textile industry.
Esa es la habitación.
Sí.
Y aquí está la pareja.
Sí.
¿Es la primera vez que estáis aquí en Brasil?
Sí, primera vez.
Primera. ¿De qué parte de Bolivia sois?
De La Paz.
¿Qué horas começáis a trabajar? Más o menos.
7.
Las 7 de la mañana.
Sí.
¿Y qué horas más o menos dejáis de trabajar?
Hasta las
Más o menos.
10.
According to Brazil's criminal code, modern slavery happens where there is forced labour, exhausting working days, degrading conditions, and/or debt bondage. The inspectors believe Christian and Delia are victims of this treatment.
Aparentemente não há maiores violências, mas essas violências simbólicas estão ocorrendo, né? Então é trabalho sem registro, medo, não pode sair do local de trabalho, não pode sair do contrato de trabalho, precisa pagar dívidas.
The Bolivian couple are given an option: either stay or leave under the protection of the Labour Ministry. It is estimated there are 12,000 sweatshops operating in Sao Paulo alone. Up until now, life inside an active sweatshop is largely unreported. To find out what it's really like, Ana has teamed up with a Bolivian journalist who will remain anonymous.
En la calza, así, cualquier pantalón y disfrazaba con la blusa.
We will call her Miriam. Miriam is about to go undercover wearing a hidden camera in a sweatshop. She will eat, sleep, and work there for the next 7 days.
¿Está bien? Sí.
The woman answering the door runs this sweatshop with her husband. Both are Bolivian.
Buenos días.
They came as low-paid textile workers and have since set up their own line of production.
Nos hemos visto el otro día. ¿Están desayunando? ¿Cómo estás?
There are 6 workers, 2 children and a baby. Aside from the kitchen, the work area is the only joint living space, and there is no outside window.
Ya. Yo tuve miedo al principio. Era la primera vez que me estaba sentando en una máquina. Entonces, en el primer momento, así que yo llegué, supe que ese no solamente sería mi hogar, también sería mi lugar de trabajo.
Meanwhile, back in the raid, Christian and Delia have decided to leave the sweatshop and take the Labour Ministry's offer.
The workers were completely unaware of their rights, so they have been informed by the inspectors about what was going on here, and they agreed to go with the inspectors to a shelter where they're going to be protected for the next 2 weeks.
The inspectors have found the brand employing the services of the sweatshop.
Fred, essa daqui, né? Mequetrefe.
Mequetrefe is a medium-sized Brazilian brand. It supplies retail chains throughout the country.
Essa sim, mas o bolso.
Over the next few days, the ministry will try to unravel the company's involvement in the sweatshop. Christian and Delia are leaving it behind, but many others are not so lucky. Miriam starts her second day of work after a difficult night's sleep.
Ay, es que me da miedo las baratas, siguen caminando. ¿Chiquitas o las grandes? Las grandes, yo no he dormido. Yo sentí que está subiendo sobre mi cabello, era barata.
Workers regularly do 17-hour days for roughly $100 a month. Their hourly rate is barely a quarter of the minimum wage. Over a quick lunch, Miriam chats to the owners.
A veces uno piensa, se pone uno a pensar, ¿acaso tan difícil siempre es la situación en nuestro país? ¿No es aquí peor?
No es pues, no es peor.
Eso a veces no, ¿qué pensaría usted en eso? Porque allá, por lo menos, allá fruta tienes, y estás en tu casa, está tu mamá, se acuerda de tu cumpleaños con torta, ahora pues tienes que estar cocinando en la mañana.
No, porque no me gusta la tierra.
¿Ah?
No me gusta la tierra.
¿Te gusta trabajar la tierra? Ah, no te gusta. Ah, no te gusta.
Me gusta, pero yo puedo estar, pero a él pues, como él estaba aquí con sus 16 años, está acostumbrado pues aquí.
Estoy acostumbrado, sí.
As a Brazilian journalist, there's only so much I can access from the Bolivian community. But Miriam is giving us a chance to look through a window no Brazilian has ever had access to. What we see is very poor Bolivians coming to work in Brazil under false promises. You have the fifth biggest textile industry in the world profiting from this poverty and from this reality.
Ana works at Reporter Brazil, an NGO that supported a government-run dirty list which identified brands fined for modern slavery-like conditions in their supply chain. But that list has been suspended, and now Ana and her colleagues publicize such cases themselves.
So here we have Zara, that was caught. We have Renner. These are big Brazilian brands. Marisa, Pernambucanas, Amy Officer.
All the brands said they had been unaware of conditions, but the ministry held them directly responsible. Zara was fined $1 million and say they have since taken measures to monitor their supply chain. The other brands have also said they have improved their monitoring of suppliers. M Officer are appealing against their fine. Just days after being rescued, Christian and Delia have been called to the Labour Ministry. It is hoped their testimony will hold the company responsible to account.
No sabemos ni a dónde ir, o sea que ya nos hemos quedado nomás ahí. Este mes era, digamos, para pasajes y trabajar. Para eso nomás nosotros no sabíamos cuánto estamos ganando.
Cada camada da cadeia produtiva tem a sua específica responsabilidade pelo processo inteiro, né? Porque cada camada agrega um determinado valor ao produto que vai ficar finalizado. E o momento atual em que a subcontratação é a regra, né? Com a impressão de que as marcas não têm responsabilidade jurídica, esse cenário é que, na verdade, está afundando a humanidade, né, para uma situação ruim, como você mesmo mencionou, né?
Christian and Delia didn't know much about the company they were making clothes for. The only contact they had was a weekly visit from a nameless driver who collected the clothes from the sweatshop. But what do we know about this company called Mequetrefe?
Mequetrefe could seem like a small brand, but it's a middle-sized brand, and they're providing for the whole country, and Brazil is a huge country. So here we see that Mequetrefe is selling outfits in Lojas Americanas website. That's a big retailer here in Brazil. I just looked up for their brand, and I see that Lojas Americanas sells it. And here you can see some of the shorts, very similar to the ones we saw in the sweatshop. I can't tell if it's the very same, but they're very similar. Tudo jóia? Pode falar pouquinho? Afinal, quais foram as condições que caracterizaram a trabalho análogo, no caso lá da Mequetrefe? We've just located Mequetrefe in the neighborhood of Brás, downtown Sao Paulo. This is the street. This is where Mequetrefe operates. Nilson, é 1108. Isso.
Anna and the labour inspectors are at the Mequetrefe offices to confront them over the working conditions in their supply chain.
Eu vou dar uma olhadinha, tá, Nilson? Você pode parar o carro aqui?
Claro, pode ir.
The man in the red t-shirt is Antonio da Silva, the owner of Mequetrefe.
Foi, e para você ficar sabendo, até para cortar desculpa, eu já mandei o menino ir lá. O meu motorista tá lá e, pelo que eu tô sabendo, lá tem coisa errada mesmo. Eu tô talvez pagando o pato pelo que não aconteceu.
The owner says he has only just discovered the poor working conditions found in the sweatshops. But it seems that even here, in his own facilities, everything is not as it should be.
Okay, so we've just found an underage worker. So he's in one of the stages of the sewing process of the shorts. You see it's a similar short, so he has probably been working on the same shorts that we found in the sweatshop. And he has no registration, so he's in a completely illegal situation here.
But whilst there are irregularities in this facility, still the most labour-intensive part of the manufacturing process is outsourced to workshops where workers' rights are not always respected.
This is exactly the same model that we found in the sweatshop. Exactly the same. So they're saying that yes, they do make this piece of clothing. They are responsible for it, and there's no way to deny now the responsibility in the case. O senhor não tinha controle sobre o que acontecia na oficina, mas é responsável por isso.
Para falar a verdade, você está tentando perguntar para mim. Eu acho que eu não tenho como controlar isso. Eu não tenho. Eu procuro saber se a oficina tem CNPJ, se tem gente legal ou ilegal. Eu tenho que procurar isso aí. Só isso.
Mas o senhor está sendo responsabilizado agora porque o senhor é responsável por essas condições.
Entendeu? Que a gente não vai ser responsável por uma coisa que outras pessoas estão fazendo, entendeu?
Geralmente a gente vai pelo o trabalho de cada dia da região. Aqui a gente trabalha dessa maneira, então a gente vai, a palavra mais certa é empurrando com a barriga. Mas a gente já está vendo isso aí já. Fazer o quê? Aconteceu.
Agora a gente recebeu a notificação e a gente vai se adequar, né? As regras.
Só aprende quando apanha.
Mequetrefe could be fined up to $20,000 for breaking the law. Both Christian and Delia will be receiving $2,000 in compensation. Back in Miriam's sweatshop, it is the boss's birthday.
Paramos las máquinas para celebrar, cantar, el plato especial que había traído ellos, plato hartísimo, así bastante. En ese momento teletransportas a otra dimensión, a la dimensión familiar, a tu tierra, y entiendes que aquella cuestión de pertenecimiento a tu tierra no la olvidas cuando hay personas que te ayudan a recordar. Fue un momento fugaz. Duró para mí muy poco. Fue muy rápido el momento. Yo todavía sentía la comida aquí en la garganta. No terminaba de caer al estómago y tenía que volver a trabajar. Había servicio que cumplir porque ya en 2 días debía de ser entregado las piezas finales. Entonces retomamos de nuevo las máquinas.
Miriam's days at the sweatshop are nearing the end. Ana, however, hopes to learn the name of the brand they're working for. Because of the potential consequences for the families working in the sweatshop, we pursued it no further. Ana firmly believes that the driving force behind the cycle of exploitation is the closed companies. To confront some of these issues, she has come to meet Fernando Pimentel, head of the Textile Manufacturers Association.
Agora, o senhor diz que é minoria, no entanto, nos últimos anos nós vimos algumas das maiores marcas brasileiras, e não foram poucas, foram muitas, que foram flagradas pelos auditores do Ministério do Trabalho explorando a prática de trabalho escravo. Então, quer dizer, são vários indícios de que há uma prática sistemática e não pontual ou minoritária dentro do setor.
Nós não queremos que você tenha clusters que possam operar de uma maneira ilegal dentro do nosso país. Essa é uma batalha contínua, permanente e que não vai ter fim, porque onde há o homem, há sempre o bom e o mal. E nessa questão, nós estamos focados em que essa prática no Brasil seja extirpada.
Eu gostaria de entender qual que é o posicionamento da BIT em relação à lista suja, se a associação vai fazer alguma coisa para que a lista seja retomada no Brasil.
A lista suja é uma questão que está em debate. Nós não temos nenhum problema com a lista suja, desde que ela garanta o direito pleno de defesa até que a pessoa seja inserida na mesma. Porque não é o fato de uma fiscalização eventualmente identificar, porque aí é uma questão interpretativa e nós estamos discutindo exatamente um conceito mais preciso do que é este trabalho escravo, do que é uma jornada exaustiva. Porque, dependendo da interpretação, você pode classificar de uma forma muito ampla.
The association is questioning the very concept of slavery, and this is very dangerous for the combat of the crime. There's an effort to reduce the concept of slavery in Brazil in a way that only cases of entrapment are considered slavery. And the inspectors, the labor department, and all the people who are following this struggle consider that this is a mistake. If the concept of slavery changes in Brazil, cases like Christian and Delia would not be considered slavery.
Ana is meeting up with Christian and Delia a few days after they were rescued to find out how they're getting on.
Se soubesse a verdade, não teria vindo.
Hasta yo he pensado que debe ser 8 horas no más, pero no ha sido ya. De temprano hasta tarde, 10 de la noche, yo no sabía trabajar allá en Bolivia.
Like so many Bolivians, they came following false promises. It was a relative of theirs who organized their trip.
E agora, Delia, qual que é o plano?
¿Qué se llama? Hay un lugar que se llama Coimbra. Hay los bolivianos, trabajadores buscan, según que he escuchado. Y por eso nosotros nos hemos pensado, ¿qué tal vamos a buscar trabajo? Debe haber siempre.
Where they plan to find work is at the heart of Sao Paulo's informal textile sector.
Now I'm worried about them being unemployed in Brazil and maybe following again back in the same cycle of slavery because they don't have contacts. How are they going to find a better job? I have seen workers who were rescued and then later on were found in the same conditions, not because they didn't know what was going on, because then they knew, but they didn't have other choices.
Today is delivery day. Miriam and the rest of the workers must prepare the clothes they have spent the week making. If they are short, they may not receive their payment.
El momento de contar las piezas es un momento que yo no olvido porque ahí yo vi la poca preparación, pese a los años de experiencia, pese a que todo estaba en orden, por color, por tamaño, no alcanzaba el número que había sido encomendado.
Eso no va a ser porque vamos a sacar
¿Cuánto salió qué?
Se llamó 2 veces a la persona que les da el servicio. No hay estas piezas, no hay este color, no hay este tamaño. Él dijo, no, yo envié, ustedes tienen que buscar. Buscamos, nada. No ha mandado completo, entonces.
Un corte entero, es lo que tiene en peso ahorita.
Entonces, uno de ustedes ha fallado.
180 más 25.
After hours of counting, the client called to confirm the mistake was at his end. Panic over.
Salieron las piezas, ellos se fueron de carro y los trabajadores volvimos junto con la dueña a la oficina. Cuando llegamos a las máquinas, los cortes ya estaban allí, que ella misma ordenaba para cada trabajador para ya comenzar a hacer. Por eso fue impactante, porque para mí fue un alivio. Ya terminamos. Tipo, para mí, vamos a celebrar. Tipo eso yo pensé, ¿sí? Vamos a celebrar porque ya se terminó un servicio. Pero ya estaba el otro servicio allí.
Miriam's ordeal is over. She tells the owners she is unable to adapt to the work and leaves the sweatshop. She arranges to meet Anna to discuss her experience. We joined her on All Souls Day, also known as Day of the Dead, an important date for most Bolivians.
Essas denúncias que a gente faz na Repórter Brasil, elas falam sempre da indústria, né, a denúncia da marca e como mudar o sistema. E tem todo esse outro lado que é a vida das vítimas, a vida da comunidade boliviana, né, que a gente não consegue captar, que a gente não consegue entrar. Mas e para você, Miriam, como trabalhadora, qual foi o momento mais difícil?
Dormir, porque você não tem um lugar. Na primeira noite eu não tinha um lugar, eu não tinha um espaço, eu não tinha nada. Você vai trabalhar naquilo onde você pode. E enquanto tenha essa opção, terão pessoas que vão pegar essa opção, mesmo que as condições não sejam próprias para um trabalho.
Qual que é o futuro que você vê, a possibilidade de solução para esse problema, para essa opressão que eles sofrem?
Eu acho que ainda está bem difícil acabar esse tipo de sistema, porque muitos dos costureiros aspiram a ser donos de oficina e reproduzem o mesmo modelo.
For those lucky enough to escape working in sweatshops, there is an informal clothes market in downtown Sao Paulo. To operate here, each market vendor has to pay off a local mafia every week and face constant harassment from police.
Most of the workers here have their own sweatshop. So they have either opened a small brand or they are operating to a small brand. But most of them are working with their families. So they are working long hours, but they are working for themselves, which is different. So they are taking the risks and the profits from these arrangements.
It has got to the point where the structure of exploitation is integral to some of the major companies in the textile industry, where clothes brands continue to benefit from an overworked migrant workforce, even though they say they are unaware of the sweatshop conditions. What's worse, the workers are trapped in these conditions of modern slavery. Even when they succeed in saving some money, they use it to open their own sweatshops, reproducing the same system. And the cycle continues.